Everybody. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to East Gippsland Shire Council's meeting of the 29th of June 2021. East Gippsland Shire Council live streams, records and publishes its meetings via webcasting to enhance the accessibility of its meetings to the broader East Gippsland community. These recordings are also archived and available for viewing by the public or used for publicity or information purposes. At the appropriate times during the meeting, any members of the gallery who are addressing the council will have their image, comments or submissions recorded. No other person has the right to record council meetings unless approval has been granted by the chair. The Victorian Government has amended the COVID-19 Omnibus Emergency Measures and Other Acts Amendment Act 2020 that enables council meetings to be conducted by electronic means, video conferencing, until the 26th of April 2021. The Minister for Local Government reissued the Ministerial Good Practice Guideline for virtual meetings on the 20th of October 2020, outlining the provisions relating to the Local Government Act 2020 allow councils to attend council meetings electronically, and the requirement where council meetings are open to the public will be satisfied where the meeting is live streamed. The amendments do not preclude councillors from attending a meeting in person in the council chambers. Members of the public are invited to view the council meeting live streamed by following the link on council's website or Facebook page. East Gippsland Shire Council acknowledges the Gunai Kurnai, Monero and the Bidwell people as the traditional custodians of the land that encompasses East Gippsland Shire. We pay our respects to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people living in East Gippsland, their elders past and present. In accordance with the purpose of this meeting, this 1 point, oh no, I better go to this 1.1. Sorry. A member's attendance can only be recorded as present when the member can confirm they meet all three of the following. They can hear proceedings, they can see other members in attendance and can be seen by other members. They can be heard or to speak when they're speaking. Councillors must confirm all of the above conditions to be noted as present for the meeting. A quorum will not be made if these conditions are not met, and the meeting will be adjourned until a quorum is met or postponed if a quorum cannot be met. If technical difficulties are encountered by council during the meeting, including with the live streaming, we will adjourn until resolution of the issue or postpone to a later time and or date. I will now confirm with our one councillor who is attending by live streaming, Councillor Van Digel, and in turn I will make sure that they can see, hear and be heard by other councillors, and to note assurance from each that the location they are participating from is secure to ensure that deliberations are confidential. Councillor Van Digel, can you see and hear us?
Yes, I can hear and see you.
Thank you. And can you confirm that the location you are participating from is secure to ensure confidential items are dealt with in a confidential manner?
I can confirm that I'm in a secure location.
Thank you, Councillor Van Digel. I believe we have one apology for our meeting this evening, Mr. CEO.
Correct, Mayor. Councillor Reeves has an apology for this evening. He had hoped to dial in, but it was very dependent on the connectivity of wherever he was located at the time.
Thank you, Councillor Reeves. Apology is noted. Item 1.4 is for declaration of conflict of interest. Councillors, are there any declarations? I see none. The next council meeting will be on Tuesday the 13th of July 2021 to be held at the Corporate Centre, 273 Main Street, Bensdale, commencing at 6 p.m. Item 1.6 is for open forum. Mr. CEO, do we have any petitions or questions or public submissions this evening, please?
We have none of any of those. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. I'll just go back to item 1.2 about the purpose of the meeting. I think it's important that we cover that. In accordance with Rule 3.3 of East Gippsland Shire Council Governance Rules, Anthony Basford, Chief Executive Officer, in consultation with the Mayor and councillors, has called an unscheduled council meeting to consider items relating to the 2021 to 2025 draft council plan and 2021 to 2022 draft council budget. The Chief Executive Officer, as required under Rule 3.3 of East Gippsland Shire Council Governance Rules, has given notice on the council website of the unscheduled council meeting on Tuesday the 29th of June 2021 at 6 p.m. Good, so we move on then to item 2, which is the officer reports, and the first item for council to consider is the adoption of the East Gippsland Shire Council Shaping the Future Community Vision for 2040. And we have Ms Pitkin, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, this evening I present to you the report titled Adoption of the Draft East Gippsland Shire Shaping the Future Community Vision 2040, which is seeking council adoption of the revised Community Vision 2040 and also seeking to formally thank community panel members for their contribution. The key points of the report for council to consider include that the community vision is intended to express the values, aspirations and priorities of the East Gippsland community. Under the Local Government Act 2020, the community vision will guide council's work through the development and implementation of its council plan and other strategic plans. The process undertaken to develop the revised vision has been undertaken in accordance with deliberative engagement practices as outlined in Council's community engagement policy and integrated with the community consultation for the council plan. Some significant events have occurred in East Gippsland since the community vision was last reviewed in 2012, which has seen some changes to the priorities of the vision. The community panel recommendations presented to council on 30 March this year have been incorporated into the draft vision and include the addition of important information to help set the scene, increasing accessibility and including an overarching vision statement and a vision statement for each of the 4 strategic themes of community, place, environment and economy. Content that aligns with current community values and priorities as identified through the community consultation process, and a process for measuring and reporting on progress against those priorities. I'm pleased to present you with the draft for East Gippsland Shire Shaping the Future, our Community Vision 2040. With us this evening online is Sasha Johns, Manager Community Engagement, who will also be happy to answer any questions you may have. The report is presented for your consideration. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Pitkin. Councillors, do you have any questions of Ms Pitkin or of Sasha? If there are no questions, then there is a recommendation in front of you, councillors. Do I have a motion? Councillor Buckley, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Crook. Councillor Buckley, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to thank the officers for their great work and the community especially for the challenge of putting the vision together. And I think it appropriate that I read that vision. In 2040, our people, place, environment and economy will be connected, in balance and resilient. Our unique and diverse communities will be accessible, inclusive, well-connected and safe. We will value and care for each other and our natural environment. Our economy will support existing and emerging industries by being agile, innovative and sustainable. Councillors, I think we can all embrace that vision, and I think that we have a lot of work in front of us to be able to create the environment that we all hope to see. I think that the people that have come together and donated their time to help create this vision should be commended. And it's nice to have seen that process take place as a new councillor. It gives me hope, and it should give us all courage to work connected and also work together to be able to achieve that. So, yes, there was a 15-person community panel that was made up of volunteers, and they represented many different community perspectives and different demographics. So, well done, those people, and I congratulate them, and let's move forward. I'm sure we can do this.
Thank you, Councillor Buckley. Councillor Crook, would you like to speak to the motion?
Certainly, thank you, Madam Mayor. This council vision really does represent for us the culmination of quite a lot of work and consultation with the community. It's extremely important for bodies such as our own to have visions that have been brought together with our constituents, with members from all our representative communities, and I think we've done a great job in doing that to this point. So I have no hesitation in recommending the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Crook. Is the motion opposed? Does anyone else wish to speak for or against the motion? If not, I will put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you, the motion is carried. Item 2.1.2 on our agenda is the adoption of the Council Plan 2021 to 2025, accompanied by the Annual Action Plan 2021 to 2022. And we have Mr. Peter Cannizzaro to introduce this. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cannizzaro.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, it is with great pleasure that I present to you tonight the Council Plan 2021 to 2025. The plan the report is seeking to adopt the council plan and also endorse the annual action plan for 21-22, which outlines how officers will deliver the council plan in year one. The key points of the report for council to consider tonight are that under the Local Government Act 2020, councils are required to prepare and adopt a council plan for a period of at least the next 4 financial years after a general election in accordance with its deliberative engagement processes. The deliberative engagement and development process was conducted in conjunction with the community vision and budget documents which are being presented as an integrated package tonight. The council plan is a key strategic document as it outlines the strategic agenda for the council during its term and considers also the community vision. The plan also informs the council's 4-year budget, rating and revenue plan and the workforce plan. It is has a very dynamic relationship with council's policies, strategies and other plans. We also will be reporting performance against the strategies and strategic indicators that are documented in the council plan through our annual reporting process and other regular reporting mechanisms. Also presented tonight is the annual action plan for 21-22, which is the companion document to the council plan. The annual action plan identifies the actions that the organisation will undertake within a given year to implement the council plan strategies. The progress of the annual action plan will be reported to council and be available to the community on a quarterly basis and also at the end of the financial year, as I stated earlier in our annual report. Tonight, Mayor, also present with us is Rebecca Aston, Manager People Performance and Culture, and Jamie Lynch, Corporate Planning and Performance Officer, who will be available to respond to any questions that you may have tonight. The report and recommendations are presented for your consideration, councillors. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Cannizzaro. Councillors, are there any questions? Councillor Crook, please.
Thank you, Mr. Cannizzaro and Madam Mayor. I just wonder whether we could get a brief outline of the community consultation that's taken place in order to develop this plan. I understand there's been quite a bit.
Sure. Jamie?
Thank you, Councillor Crook. We started the community consultation process in December last year with the assistance of Kaz McLean, where we started off with
Excuse me, Jamie, can I just check that your microphone is on, please? Oh, it is? Okay, good. Maybe
a bit
could you
closer.
speak? Yes, thank you.
The engagement process started with a community perception survey where we received over 330 responses, so that was a good response to the survey. And then we went across 5 different areas of East Gippsland to speak to people directly. There were council officers and councillors involved in those discussions, where we went to Bensdale, Lakes Entrance, Orbost, Malakuta and Omeo. And we also had some online sessions as well to reach people who were unable to be there in person. We reached over 140 people through that process. And as Jodie Pitkin mentioned with the community vision, we also used the community panel, the 15-member volunteer group that were involved in the discussions and helped to develop some recommendations for the council plan, which were presented to councillors. And the final step was a closing the loop process, where we went back out to the community, an opportunity to show them the council plan and the process of how we use the engagement to get to the end result, which is up for consideration tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Crook. Thank you, Jamie. Are there any further questions, councillors? If not, there is a recommendation in front of you. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Greason, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Crook, thank you. Councillor Greason, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Under the Local Government Act 2020, Council must develop or review the council plan in accordance with its deliberative engagement practices. So, as you've just heard, this council plan was developed after extensive deliberative community engagement, which had over 470 people engaged with councillors and officers between December 2020 and May 2021. And the methods of engagement included a community survey, face-to-face and online engagement workshops, and the use of a community panel. Councillors were involved in the community engagement workshops to hear directly from the community and participate in open discussions. Councillors would like to acknowledge the community members' input during this process and value the feedback provided very highly. The 15-person community panel was made up of volunteers who represented a range of community perspectives from different demographics, sectors and interest groups within East Gippsland. The panel members contributed their time over 7 workshops, with the end result being their involvement in developing our Community Vision 2040 and a thorough set of recommendations for inclusion in the council plan. Council is proud of the valuable contribution they made to the new Council Plan 21-25, and we would like to thank those involved in the process. Having considered the engagement formation and community priorities, the Council has settled on the following overarching vision for the Council Plan. And this is it. East Gippsland is an inclusive and innovative community that values our natural environment, puts community at the centre of council decision making and creates the conditions in which communities can thrive. With the driving vision set, the council plan was developed with 5 strategic objectives, which are an inclusive and caring community that respects and celebrates diversity, planning and infrastructure that enriches the environment, lifestyle and character of our communities, a natural environment that is managed and enhanced, a thriving and diverse economy that attracts investment and generates inclusive local employment. These 4 strategic objectives are enabled by a 5th strategic objective being a transparent organisation that listens and delivers effective, engaging and responsive services. These strategic objectives guide Council to remain proactive and agile in response to community issues. Each of these strategic objectives have a set of strategies and strategic indicators for how each will be achieved by Council. The Council Plan has also been developed with a recovery lens to ensure the community and economic recovery continues to be a focus across the 4 years following the devastating 2019-2020 bushfires and the pandemic. Having a continued focus on recovery will position East Gippsland to increase its resilience and preparedness for future events. This council plan focuses on what we want for East Gippsland now and for the future, and documents how we will work towards this over the next 4 years. I would like to encourage our community to read the council plan, as it provides an overview of the key direction of council and what we would aim to achieve. There is regular reference to supporting our local communities, and we seek to put this plan into action straight away. Councillors, I believe that the draft Council Plan 2021 to 2025 has been developed in the community's best interest and focuses on the important issues that we heard during the engagement process. I encourage you to support its adoption on that basis. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Greeson. Councillor Cook, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Fellow councillors, staff and watching this video, either live or afterwards, this is our blueprint for the future. This is our plan about what we are going to do as a council over the next 4 years that we hope will set East Gippsland in the best possible position for years even after these objectives have been met. We've all worked and contributed towards this document, and it's been done in close consultation with the community, and so I have no hesitation in recommending it for adoption tonight. And I reiterate what Councillor Greeson has said in that I encourage community members to read the plan itself and to engage with its subject matter and to use it as the impetus to remind us as councillors to deliver on the outcomes that we have identified as being needed over the next 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Crook. Is the motion opposed? Would anyone else like to speak either for or against the motion? If not, I put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. The motion is carried. Item 2.1.3 is the adoption of council budget for 2021-22. We have Mr. Peter Cannizzaro again, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, before you is a report titled The Adoption of the Council Budget 2021 to 22, which is seeking adoption of the 21-22 budget, including the declaration of rates and charges. The key points of the report for Council to consider are, firstly, the draft budget 2021-2022 has been prepared in accordance with the Local Government Act 2020 and the Local Government Planning and Reporting Regulations 2020. The draft budget has been developed in accordance with Council's community engagement policy and deliberative community engagement processes. The draft budget proposes a rates and municipal charge increase of 1.5% in line with the rate cap set by the Minister for Local Government for the 21-22 financial year. The draft budget forecasts an operating surplus for the 21-22 financial year of $35.735 million, noting that the underlying result, though, is a deficit of $7.362 million as a result of the advance payment of $8.4 million of the 21-22 Victorian Grants Commission payment being received in the 2020-21 year. All of the other 3 financial years included in the draft budget are forecasting operating surpluses and underlying surpluses. You'll also note a capital works program of $88.759 million is being proposed, with $21.5 million of the program being projects carried over from the 2020-21 financial year. There's also $44.28 million of forecast capital grants that will go towards the capital program in the 21-22 financial year. There are several recommendations in the report, councillors, for your consideration. Also tonight with me is Manager Finance, Liz Collins, who is available to respond to any particular questions that councillors may have. So the report and recommendations, councillors, are presented to you for consideration. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Cannizzaro. Councillors, are there any questions, please? Councillor Buckley.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, I just have a couple of questions in regards to attachment 2.1.3.1, page 52. There is just a couple of questions that I'm seeking clarification on. There is a boardwalk project that has been presented by Mr. Chester to the councillor group of 2.28 million, and it is funded, I understand, by grant money from the federal government. And the clarification I'm seeking is that inclusive, or is ratepayers' money going towards that project as well? As I see, there's an $80,000 amount of council money in the budget, and I just wanted to seek some clarification on that matter. And also there are two other ones that I weren't quite sure about. One, there's a figure of 1 million for the Omeo Bike Trail. That was a council contribution, and also 108 million re the East Gippsland Trail Network. All these things, I'm just seeking clarification if they've come through council for their endorsement, or so that's the question.
Thank you, Councillor Buckley. Ms Collins. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor, for those questions. In relation to those capital projects, I'm assuming that's the Cratagurlong, I can't pronounce it, walk, showing at attachment 2.1.3.1, which is showing of the $2.280 million for that project, 2.2 million is from government grants, and there is an $80,000 cash contribution towards that particular project. The other question was regarding the Omeo Bike Trail, and you will see there's in the new works for 21-22 project costs of 1.221 million. 200,000 of that is from grant, with council funding of just over $1 million. There is also in the carry forward projects, and I will move across to those, the carry forward projects, there's $1.7 million carried forward from the current financial year for that project, of which 1.2 million is grant funded and 500,000 council cash.
Right, the final one was the $108 million re the East Gippsland Trail Network. I may not have been present for that coming to council. I'm just seeking clarification if that's something that came to the councillor group.
It certainly came through as part of the briefings about the major projects. So it has been, this is about some of the connections that we're looking to pursue funding for. At this stage, that funding is unconfirmed, but it is a connection from the rail trail down through Lakes Entrance. So that's what that one is for. And if I can just add to Ms Collins' explanation around the other boardwalk project, the funding doesn't allow us to capitalise overheads. It allows us to capitalise or to include the project management as part of the external funding. Council has a position of also applying an overhead to all of our capital projects. So the $80,000 that you see there is the overhead that is applied to that project, because we can't claim that back through the government funding.
Thank you for the explanation, officers. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Councillor Buckley. Councillors, are there any further questions? Councillor White.
Thank you. I also have several questions. One is if maybe you could direct me to our expected legal costs. I may have overlooked them in all the documents, but where we sit with expenditure on legal fees for the upcoming budget. That's item one. Two is, I know we really did thrash out how to go around the rate revenue and the 1.5%, which is in there, but of course that's not across the board for every ratepayer. I'm conscious that, as was discussed, and I certainly know officers tried their best to try and smooth the rates out, but there are going to be people who get a horrible shock, and I hope when they get their letters delivered later in the year that they're sitting down when they open them, because I just don't understand how a 1.5% rate increase for some ratepayers in our Shire could result in more than a 100% increase in their actual rate bill. I think this is going to be mortifying for some people, especially just on the back of a drought, bushfires and all the other things that we've had to suffer through in the last couple of years. I just don't like the outcome of that. Our budget of almost $90 million now in capital works, with 22 million already carried forward, I'm really worried that we will not achieve our goals. I wonder if we do not have enough, firstly, just local contractors. Will we have to outsource and get contractors from afar to complete these projects in time? It is more than double our normal capital works budget. So I'm quite concerned that we may not be able to achieve that, and then where we sit, because a lot of it is grant money, will we have to refund it, or will we be allowed to carry it over? But you continue carrying over when are you ever going to complete the projects? In terms of the rates, and people might just sort of, what I'd ask you, Ms. Collins, is will next year's rates, how will that affect the region? Because as we discussed in briefings, the new valuations have only collected up the rural sector. But as everybody knows, with the way people have wanted to move to our region, particularly for lifestyle reasons, residential homes and lifestyle properties have also risen. So will they be collected up next year and see a very large sector of our ratepayers be hit really hard with rate increases due to the capital improved value that's put on them?
So, Councillor White, thank you.
3 questions.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not sure about the middle one, whether that was a comment or whether that was actually a question you had of officers.
The capital works?
Yes.
That was the question. Are we confident that we can deliver?
Okay, thank you. So the first one was about the legal fees, is that correct?
Yes.
Ms Collins, are you able to answer that question? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor, for those questions. In terms of the legal fees for the 21-20 year, the legal fees included in the budget are quite minimal in terms of just planning for a normal year and just normal legal fees that we would expect in terms of some of the work that we do. So they are minimal for the 21-22 year included in the budget. I can't give you the exact figure, but it is not significant within the budget for 21-22. In terms of the rate increase, that councillors should note that whilst the average rate increase, and this is the quantum of the total rates and municipal charge, will increase by 1.5% over the 2021 rates, there will be variations for every single individual ratepayer potentially. Some will have an increase that may be greater than that, but for everyone that increases greater, there will be others that decrease, because this is the average for the total rates and charges raised. So what we can't control as a council is the valuations of all of our rateable properties. The revaluation, which is done annually, is the responsibility of the Victorian Valuer General, and those valuations are then passed through to council, and we must use those as the way that we distribute rates based on valuations. Increase in valuations does not mean an increase in rates. It just means that the rate in the dollar is adjusted to meet the overall rate increase, in this case, that council is seeking, which is the 1.5 rate cap. In terms of, I'll go on to answer Councillor White's next question about the valuations, because the valuations, I would not be able to provide any information in terms of the valuation movements that we may see for the year after. These valuations were at 1 January 2021, and obviously it's the Valuer General who is determining the new valuations as at 1 January 2022, which will then flow into the next financial year after that. So for, I guess the important thing to note though is that this is the average increase, and yes, there will be movements above that for some ratepayers, but also below that. So there will be people who may experience a total rates and charges decrease or less than the average 1.5 for everyone that may increase greater than the 1.5. The valuations are used as part of the methodology to distribute the rates and charges, as we must do in accordance with the Local Government Act. So I just also would point out too that in terms of the farm properties where they had the greater increase in their valuations overall on average, that included in the recommendation tonight is a rebate totalling $600,000 to be distributed proportionally to the farm ratepayers as at 1 July. That would in effect bring that overall increase in the for the farming sector down to approximately 1.5% by applying that 600 rebate, if that's what Council does decide tonight. I will pass across to Ms Weigel to respond to the Capital Works program.
Thank you, Ms Collins, and thank you, Councillor. It is indeed a very pertinent question, and one I think we've discussed with councillors for a while now, because it is for us a very big program, the biggest program, as you've pointed out, that I think we would ever have had to deliver. And I guess we're in a bit of a quandary because it is great to get the grant funding and the recovery funding for both bushfire and COVID recovery funding. And we've worked hard with the funding agencies to see if we can get that funding smoothed over a little, so carried out, so that we do have the capacity to deliver that. Unfortunately, a lot of the grant programs have come with very tight timeframes, but we recognise that the needs of our community and applying for this funding with a greater need, and we therefore elected to still apply for the funding so that we can deliver those projects. I would point out that of the carry forward, whilst we do have a significant carry forward, we already have over $20 million of our future program, our program for next year, already under contract. So we have the contractors on board, and it's really, those are our big, large projects, of which there are about at least 14 of them which were multi-year projects, which started this financial year and will continue into next financial year. So we already have some of it under contract. We also have a fairly large road reseal and gravel resheet program, and again the contractors are under, we already have our panel of providers there. So there are some, always in an area like this where we have a smallish pool of contractors, that contractor capacity is something that we have to consider along with our own capacity. And we've been discussing this with contractors for now, especially our civil works contractors, for a number of months now. To date, we're still seeing that they have the capacity to undertake those works, and they have been assuring us that they will continue to be able to do so. We have, and in terms of our own management, we have scaled up our project management office, so our project supervisors. We've brought additional project supervisors in to assist with that. So I agree, Councillor White, that we've put ourselves a challenging program, but I believe that it's a program that we will be able to deliver. In terms of the grants funding, we need to make sure that we're putting a real focus on those projects that are grant funded, to make sure that we can deliver those within those project deadlines which are set within those project parameters. Yes, it will be a challenging year, but I think we've discussed that we are doing everything we can to deliver that, and as we've said, and as I started with we sort of had to weigh out that whether we took the funding on behalf of the community and tried to deliver those projects, or whether we didn't. And in the end, we've determined that the needs of our community and the opportunities that it presents are really important for our community, and therefore we've elected to present a very large program to council tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Weigel. Thank you, Councillor White. Councillor Stowe, you have a question?
Yes, thank you. Can I just follow up from Councillor White's question with regards to legal fees? I note that you told us that it was just a fairly insignificant figure, normal figure, but don't we have significant legal fees from the Kalbar project, and if so, aren't they included?
Thank you, Councillor Stowe. They're included in the current financial year. So we've already forecast the expenditure for those legal costs in this current year. So in terms of the 21-22 year, they become more normal operational legal costs that you would just expect in a normal year.
Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. Are there any further questions? Councillor Crook.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And Ms Weigel, it's probably a question for you. Following on from what Councillor White has said, it really is a huge capital works program that we're looking at over the next 12 months and beyond. Could you just clarify for us, is this in fact probably the biggest capital works budget that we've ever seen?
Without having gone back further than 10 years, I would be relatively confident that yes, I believe this would be the biggest capital budget that this council has seen since amalgamation. Yes.
Thank you, and I guess I just make the point that with that, obviously, there are some significant challenges, but ultimately some amazing opportunities to deliver on projects for services and the things that our communities need. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Crook. Any further questions, councillors? If not, there is a recommendation in front of you. Do I have a motion, please? Thank you, Councillor Stowe. Is the motion seconded? Thank you, Councillor Crook. Would you like to speak to the motion, Councillor Stowe?
Yes, thanks, Mayor. Look, it's a pleasure to speak to this motion. Actually, it's possibly, in my opinion, the most important document that the Shire has to offer for the year. This budget's been framed to ensure the organisation is appropriately resourced to deliver the work, services and initiatives as set out in the Council Plan for 21 to 25. In accordance with the Local Government Act 2020, Council undertook a deliberative engagement process seeking community input into the draft budget in tandem with the Council Plan. In framing the budget, we were well aware of the challenging events that the community has experienced in recent times. The Minister for Local Government has set the cap rate at 1.5%, as we've just heard, for the 21-22 year, and Council is proposing that the general rates of municipal charge will increase by that 1.5% in line with the cap. The budget proposes that the differential rate for the farm class of properties will remain at 80 cents of the general rate. However, a rebate totalling $600,000 will be applied to all farm rates assessed for 21-22. The differential rate for commercial industrial class of properties is proposed to remain at 145% of the general rate. The total rates of municipal charges will therefore increase on an average of 1.5%. I won't go any further there, we've well and truly covered that aspect of it. The budget proposes significant capital works for the ensuing year of almost $89 million. And just to highlight a couple of the key ones is the Bullock Island Master Plan of $5 million, the World Project Precinct in Bairnsdale of $11 million. Now this is an exciting project that will provide sporting opportunities for the people of East Gippsland for many, many years to come. There'll be streetscaping in Bruthen, Buchan and Mallacoota of over $3 million. Lakes Entrance foreshore and streetscaping works of nearly $2 million. Renewal and upgrades of roads throughout the Shire, which is very important to us all, of almost $14 million. It can be seen that from these projects that we are funding projects throughout the entire Shire and not concentrating any one particular area. The estimated surplus for the ensuing year is $35 million. However, it is important to note that when non-recurring capital income is taken into account, the underlying result is estimated to be a deficit of just over $7 million as a result of the advance payment of the Victorian Grants Commission 21-22 allocation of $8.4 million received in 2021. I would like to encourage our community to read the document in conjunction with the council plan. When read together, these two key integrated strategic documents provide an overview of the multitude of works, services and projects the council delivers and the projects planned for the future. It's great to see the strong financial position of our Shire. Councillors, I believe the draft budget of 21-22 is responsive, equitable and the best long-term interests of East Gippsland. I encourage you to support its adoption.
Thank you, Councillor Stowe. Councillor Crook, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you. And thanks, Councillor Stowe. I think you covered that very well. I guess I'd just like to offer further explanation. I know it's already been done by Liz and some of our officers, but I think it's important that our communities understand when we apply a rate cap of 1.5%, that doesn't necessarily mean your rates are only going to go up by 1.5%. And that's because your rates are actually tied to the value of the property that's being rated. And as Liz explained, that value is not set by us at this table or in fact from the council at all. It's done by the valuer general. So if your property value goes up considerably, your rates will go up proportionally. And I understand that for some people whose property values have increased substantially in recent times, that may be quite a shock. But I'd just like to reaffirm that occurrence is actually outside largely of the control of this council. Thank you.
Councillor Crook. Is the motion opposed? Would you like to speak to the motion, Councillor White?
Thank you.
Against the motion, I mean.
Yes. I fully understand that the valuations are not part of Shire's job, but I would probably like to use this forum more as a protest about the way valuations are performed, and I think there'll be repercussions across the entire state as a result of the rate increases, particularly to rural land. We waited and waited and waited for a rates review. It was completed and nothing of anything of any substance came from that. You know, we sat through a forum with that committee that were going around, and they were impressed with the number of people that turned up. East Gippsland was one of the best represented both by councillors and the public, but it achieved nothing. I'm also aware of projects that are not on our list. I was approached by the president of the Lindeno Sports Ground Committee at Anzac Day dawn service, and he had noted, and you know, not to be disrespectful, but you know, it is at the front of people's minds, women's sports facilities, and the world is testament to that. Lindeno Sports Ground has no women's facilities, and it was budgeted for. And then this person, and I actually thought it was done. I absolutely thought it was the project had gone ahead and was done. He informed me that it actually has disappeared off the budget, so it's not even there anymore. So I was appalled to hear that. I don't know how much it would cost, but in looking at spending $80,000 on what's being hidden in the budget papers as a footpath, which is the walk around Lakes entrance, you know, maybe that $80,000 could have gone to the Lindeno community to upgrade their facilities at the sports ground. The other thing that I look at is, and Councillor Crook and I are on the same page here, the weeds, the infestation of terrible, debilitating, noxious weeds on Shire roads. And we see it's been spoken about at briefings, but I've not seen a single road sprayed where the weeds are in plague proportion, and they've gone onto people's properties and they will destroy them. My recent trip to Canberra through the Monero clearly shows that. The African lovegrass up there has just destroyed the region, and we are letting it get away when we should have pounced on it 5 years ago and really got stuck in, and we're not doing it. So there's nothing there of substance in the budget for that sort of vital work. And I'll go back to what I was talking about, the rural rates. If you had a farm above the gap and you see your rates double, and your farm fronts the Great Alpine Road, what benefit is there in the rates that those people pay to council when they don't have frontage to any Shire roads? They can drive all the way to Bairnsdale to do their business, banking, legal, whatever, buy a tractor, and they've only driven on regional roads, Victoria roads, and they'll get slugged for rates. And I know you could argue that we have swimming pools and libraries, etc., but for those people, there is no benefit to them in what they pay in rates. And I'm just looking at this as basically to make a statement that the system at the moment is broken and it is totally unfair. And I allured before that unless there's a crash in our economy between now and January 2022, when the Valuer General goes out again, then look out to all the people who have seen their family homes rise by 25 or 30% in this last 12 months, and then look out when they get their rate notices. So I'm just saying that the system's broken, and I just like to put it out there that somebody needs to start working really hard on a new system to make it fair and equitable. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor White. Does anyone else wish to speak in support of the motion? Okay. Anybody else wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Buckley, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Firstly, I'd like to thank the dedication of the officers of the East Gippsland Shire for preparing the budget. A great deal of careful consideration and effort has been put into the budget, and that's clear from what we've heard tonight. As a new councillor, it's been a fascinating process to be involved with, and I commend the staff for their effort. So my following statement is not a reflection upon the council staff of East Gippsland Shire, although I do support John's sentiment that the system is broken and we need to fix it. My concern lies with the unfortunate adverse effects of the state government system that inflates rates due to the capital improved value rating system. I find this is unfair, as it does not consider the varying personal circumstances of our constituents. I was deeply concerned at the 13.13% hike in rates for farmers due to the increase in valuations in remote and rural areas. Regional migration and real estate sales are adversely affecting the farming communities, which has been reported Australia-wide. Councillor White and I spoke at length regards to this issue. A rebate totalling $600,000 from the state will be applied proportionately to all farm assessments to ease the burden, and it's with hope that this should help ease the troubling effect of the CIV rating system upon our farmers. The issue needs further exploration, as it could follow through to other sectors in the coming years. If any ratepayer is suffering hardship, I reach out to them to reach out to the council. We understand that people will suffer difficult times with the pressures that are upon us, and there are people within the council who are prepared to help you and put plans in place for you, so don't hesitate to come forward with your problems to us. I understand the council, under a new legislation framework, undertook a new engagement process seeking community input in February and March re this budget, which seemingly may have missed some people in the community. and I believe the draft budget should have also been available for the community's perusal at the end of the process, prior to its adoption, which has been traditionally the custom. So I apologise to those in the community in advance for those who did not have the opportunity to do so. I am and always will be a strong advocate for remote communities, and the budget expenditures, in my view, should be more equitable across the wider Shire. I will continue to work towards this into the future. At the core, I recognise the budget requires support, and I look seriously at the budget with the outside effects of 88 or close to $89 million in capital grant funding, and I understand this will put a great deal of pressure on the council to deliver. But I have faith in the organisation that it will be determined with this task. In closing, I believe in lower rates and a well-managed government. I tried to negotiate a 0.5% increase with my fellow councillors, only gaining support from Councillor Grecian. It was with the view that 0.5% should have been sufficient and that we must look to run a tight ship. I find it hard to support this budget set at 1.5%, and also the lack of fairness in the rating of sectors affecting our community capital by the capital improvement valuation system that the state government imposes upon its people. In regards to, which are based on total property value, which may not necessarily reflect the income levels of the property owner, such as pensioners and low-income earners. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Buckley. Does any other councillor wish to speak either for or against the motion? If not, I put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Thank you, the motion is carried. Item 2.1.4 on our agenda is the adoption of the 10-year finance plan, and we have Mr. Peter Canizzaro, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, before you tonight is a report titled The Adoption of the 10-Year Financial Plan 2021 to 22 to 2020 through to 31. So which is seeking adoption of the plan. So the key points of the report for councillors to consider are that the Local Government Act requires the council to adopt a 10-year financial plan. The plan has been developed in conjunction with the Council Plan 2021 to 25 and also the 21-22 budget to ensure resources are required to give effect to the Council Plan and other strategic plans, and that they are aligned and integrated. The plan provides information about the decisions and assumptions that underpin the forecasts described in the financial resources and as effect from 1st of July 2021. The plan is a key planning document and supports Council's financial sustainability into the future. Tonight with me is also Liz Collins again, Manager Finance, who's available to answer any particular questions you may have. Thank you, Mayor. I present the report and recommendations to you.
Thank you, Mr. Canizzaro. Councillors, are there any questions on this report? I see no questions. There is a recommendation in front of you, councillors. Do I have a motion, please? Thank you, Councillor Crook. Do I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Allen. Councillor Crook, you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just briefly, Council has developed and hopefully we will now adopt the 10-year financial plan in conjunction with the 4-year council plan and the annual budget, as already adopted tonight, to ensure the financial resources required to give effect to the council plan and beyond are available and aligned. The financial plan provides a long-term view of the resources that are expected to be available to council and the predicted application of those resources. It is anticipated that the plan will be updated on a rolling basis to maintain its currency through time. The information, including key financial indicators provided in the 10-year financial plan, has been designed to support Council's financial sustainability into the future. I would like to encourage our community to read the 10-year financial plan in conjunction with the council plan and the budget, as when read together, these three strategic documents provide a very good understanding of the multitude of works, services and projects that Council delivers and what is planned for the future in a financially sustainable way. Councillors, I believe the 10-year financial plan provides a financially sound and sustainable view of Council's expected financial position over the next 10 years, and I encourage you to support its adoption on that basis. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Crook. Councillor Allen, you wish to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor Mendy. As in any business or anything, it's important to have a long-term plan of how you operate that business, and this is what this is. So I commend it to councillors.
Thank you, Councillor Allen. Is the motion opposed? No. Does anybody wish to speak either for or against the motion? If not, I'll put that motion to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Oh, sorry. Councillor Van Digel, sorry, I didn't see your hand. You was in support of the motion? Yes,
Yes,
thank
I'm
you. Thank you, everybody. The motion is carried. Item 2.1.5 on our agenda is the 4-year revenue and rating plan. And I'll pass over to Mr. Peter Cannizaro again, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, before you is a report titled the 4-year revenue and rating plan seeking Council's adoption. Again, the key points of the report for you to consider tonight are that the Local Government Act 2020 requires Council to prepare and adopt a revenue and rating plan for at least the next 4 financial years. The revenue and rating plan includes some key information regarding rating legislation and principles, together with other information on Council's current rating differentials, service charges and other forms of revenue. The revenue and rating plan supports the 10-year financial plan and also the 2021/22 budget, and that has been developed in accordance with the Integrated Strategic Planning and Reporting Framework as part of the Local Government Act 2020. Again, tonight, councillors, we have Liz Collins, Manager Finance, who's available to respond to any questions. Mayor, I present the report and recommendations to you for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cannizaro. Councillors, are there any questions of this report, please? I see no questions. There is a recommendation in front of you. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Allen, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Greason. Councillor Allen, you wish to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor Mendy. This 4-year revenue and rating plan defines the revenue and rating envelope which the Council proposes to operate in the 10-year financial plan that's been presented and in the budget 21/22. The revenue rating plan is a key planning document which identifies the source of revenue, how much will be raised in each class and the assumption for each to fund the proposed expenditure in the 4-year budget. I would encourage the community to read the revenue and rating document in conjunction with the council plan, the 10-year financial plan and the budget 21/22. When read together, these key integrated strategic documents provide an overview of the multitude of works, services and projects that the council delivers and what is planned for the future. I believe that the 4-year revenue and rating plan provides important information for both council and the community in regard to the council's revenue planning over the next 4 years. Councillors, I encourage you to support the adoption on that basis. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Allen. Councillor Greason, you wish to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Mayor. It's fine.
Thank you. Is the motion opposed? Does anyone else wish to speak? Sorry, Councillor Buckley.
Oh,
Yes.
just on the grounds of the capital improved value, the CIVI don't support this motion because it would be remiss of me to support this considering I raised the subject in the budget of being a broken system.
Thank you, Councillor Buckley. Does anyone else wish to speak either for or against the motion? I'll give you the right of reply in a minute, Councillor Allen, but I just wanted to make a couple of comments myself, and it doesn't particularly relate to this item, but I just before, because this is the last item that we are considering this evening, I just wanted to comment that the adoption of these documents marks a key milestone in Council's work, and I think it's really important to recognise and appreciate all the work that it's taken to get to this point. So I would very much like to thank all those community members who have had input to the development of these really key documents, and particularly the members of that community panel, which is a new process. And I really appreciate the fact that those people volunteered their time and their considerable, well, they were very enthusiastic, I believe, about it. So their enthusiasm and their ideas to produce these documents that we're considering tonight. I'd also like to thank my fellow councillors for their keen engagement in the process all along. And I'd also like to thank the CEO for his leadership and the executive team, and to all the staff who've contributed so much time, care and effort to get to this particular point. That's what I wanted to say about all the documents. We're moving on. Councillor White, did you have a point of clarification by chance?
I was actually hoping to speak for this.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Okay, sure.
That's fine.
No, that's fine. I think we can, we can have that now.
I will support this, but I was just looking at, we have waste and garbage charges, and looking out into the forward years, I would just like to mention my recent trip to Canberra, which was a lecture on the circular economy, and I'm just saying that these figures will be very difficult to adhere to going forward, simply because of the way that sector is changing, and I'm pretty sure that we will have to make some adjustments along the way, significant adjustments along the way in terms of those fees and charges.
Thank you, Councillor White. Does anyone else wish to speak either for or against this motion? No, then Councillor Allen, you have the right of reply if you wish to accept that. No? Okay, then I will put this motion to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. Against? Thank you. The motion is carried. We have reached the conclusion of the meeting, so I would now just like to thank everybody for their attendance and attention, and close the meeting at 7:08 p.m. Thank you, everybody.